This Northern California killer definitely had a method to his madness. Welcome to WatchMojo's Top 5 Facts and our special series about famous murderers. In today's installment, we'll be counting down the 5 most notable and fascinating pieces of information surrounding this disturbing serial killer who terrorized California throughout the late 60s and early 70s.
He threatens to go on a killing rampage if the cryptogram is not published on the Chronicle's front page.
Number 5. The Zodiac murders followed a familiar pattern.
Man, you really creeped us out.
The term modus operandi can be loosely defined as a characteristic or established way of performing a task. This was definitely the case when it came to the Zodiac Killer, who tended to target couples who were parked in cars or located in otherwise secluded areas. Zodiac was meticulous and prepared when it came to stalking his victims and catching them by surprise, often creeping up on them with a knife or firing gunshots at point-blank range. The Zodiac also wore a black executioner-style hood for his Lake Berryessa attack of Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, as well as a white bib displaying a 3-inch by 3-inch cross-circle insignia as a sort of perverse coat of arms. Zodiac was also well prepared when it came to hiding his fingerprints, reportedly covering his hands in model airplane cement in order to make them muddled and difficult for authorities to lift. Number 4. People have come forward to claim relatives as the Zodiac. It's not entirely uncommon for true crime authors to offer up theories as to who might have committed a series of unsolved murders, but it's another thing altogether for someone to come forward and claim one of their relatives was one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. This was exactly what happened in 2007, when Dennis Kaufman put forth his stepfather Jack Terrence as a Zodiac suspect, due to his discovery of a similar-looking executioner's hood, as well as a bloody knife and handwriting samples Kaufman claimed would match up with that of the Zodiac.
You have 42 identical marks between Jack Torrance and the Zodiac letters?
Yes.
7 years later, Gary Stewart wrote a book claiming that he was the biological son of the Zodiac, having been abandoned by his biological parents in the early 60s. And while neither of these claims have resulted in any definitive answers, an even stranger turn of events took place during the 2016 American presidential election.
To die of love is to live by it.
A series of comedic tweets actually placed one-time candidate Ted Cruz as a potential Zodiac suspect, even though Cruz was born in 1970, making it physically impossible for him to be the killer.
Come on, that's absurd. Some people actually liked the Zodiac Killer.
Number 3. The Zodiac often communicated in code via ciphers. The Zodiac Killer has 5 victims attributed directly to him, but this didn't stop him from sending letters directly to the press and police, often claiming responsibility for multiple murders.
To prove I killed them, I shall state some facts which only I and the police know.
To complicate things further, the Zodiac often sent these missives in code via ciphers, a form of communication that is deliberately disguised in order to convey a hidden meaning. 3 separate letters were sent in 1969 to 3 major newspapers in the San Francisco area, each containing 1/3 of a cryptogram, which Zodiac claimed hid the key to his identity. The press and police had to use outside sources in order to decode the hidden meanings behind these letters, which often shed light on the killer's loose grip on reality, as well as his affinity for cinema, such as The Most Dangerous Game.
Here on my island, I hunt the most dangerous game.
Zodiac also demanded that his letters be printed on the front page, otherwise he would commit more murders. Less than a week later, another letter was sent to the San Francisco Examiner, opening with the chilling line which has now become the killer's calling card.
This is the Zodiac speaking.
Number 2. The Zodiac taunted authorities after his crimes. The Zodiac Killer was bold and brash in his communication with both the authorities and the press. This wasn't just limited to snail mail missives, however, as an anonymous call was placed via a phone booth to the Vallejo Police Headquarters, claiming responsibility for the gunshots which left Darlene Ferrin dead and Michael Mageau severely injured after encountering the Zodiac while parking at Blue Rock Springs, California.
Goodbye.
Mageau would survive his attack, however, and gave the descriptions of a young white male between 26 and 30 years old, a stocky build, and light curly brown hair. Adding unexplained insult to injury, 2 officers saw a white man similar to this description while making their way to the crime scene of Zodiac's next victim, car driver Paul Stein. The officers observed but didn't detain this man, as a police dispatcher had mistakenly described the Stein suspect as a black male.
Wait, I thought someone said he was black.
That's the description that went out to radio cars.
Zodiac even commented on this baffling mistake during one of his letters to the San Francisco Chronicle, claiming that 2 officers had spoken to him a mere 3 minutes after shooting Stein. Number 1. The Zodiac Killer was never caught.
I need to stand there. I need to look him in the eye. And I need to know that it's him.
Copycat crimes, fan letters, and hoaxes accumulated in the years following the deaths of Zodiac's 5 confirmed victims, while to this day, phone calls and tips continue to be sent by those who think that they may have the answer.
Zodiac didn't do it, but took credit for it anyway, because he's in it for the press.
One brief break in the case did occur when authorities managed to extract some saliva from a stamp. But this piece of evidence, while eliminating some suspects, wasn't enough to bring the Zodiac Killer to justice. This didn't stop the madman's flow of communication either, as Zodiac sent both letters and greeting cards to investigators and members of the press throughout 1970.
I feel it in my bones. You ache to know my name, and so I'll clue you in. But then why spoil the game?
The final official communication with the Zodiac was received by the Chronicle in 1974, wherein he expressed his approval of The Exorcist as, quote, the best satirical comedy I have ever seen, before closing his letter with a final running tally, which simply said me, 37, SFPD, 0. So, do you think you can identify the Zodiac Killer? How about cracking his unsolved cryptic cipher messages?
The one letter that absolutely, positively does not match is the letter K.
For more creepy killer top 10s and secret code top 5s, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
But people forget one thing. There's innocent people that died, and there's families out there that don't have resolution. So it's not just a mystery to them, it's real life.